Good afternoon. I'm Joseph. This is Input English. Welcome to the 6th episode of the Easy English series on this channel. In this series, I speak a little slower. I pronounce words very clearly, and the entire series is to allow you to better understand the discussion. Today, I'd like to take a walk. You might object. You might say, we're always taking a walk. We were just walking the other day in a park. Well, this one's going to be a little different. Stick with me. You will see this is different. When we say we're going to take a walk, we are walking. Okay. Why would we walk? One, we could walk to transport ourselves from one point to another. We could walk as a means of travel. It is arguably the original means of travel for humans. But usually in the 21st century, if someone says they're going to take a walk, it's not for transportation. Certainly you could walk to the store, or you could walk to work, or you could walk home from the library. That is transportation. That is travel. But when we say we're going to take a walk, it's usually from a starting point to some place and then back to the starting point. If we return to our starting point, then we have two choices. One, go out, turn around, and come back. We would call that out and back. And the alternative, the other way to deal with that, is to make a circuit. The other day in the nature reserve, we did a circuit. But at the farm, we did an out and back. People who take walks may have opinions about how they like to walk. Some people might prefer a circuit. Others accept an out and back. Many people have told me that when they walk out and back, they feel that the return trip is very different than the outgoing leg. They feel that their point of view being reversed, coming back, they see different things, or they see the same things from a different perspective. So today, I want to take a walk, but the place in which I'm walking is going to be different. It's not going to be in a state park. It's not going to be in a city park. It's going to be out in the woods. There is a path, but it's not a sidewalk, it's not paved, and it's not level. So if one decides to go on a walk, why? Why would you want to go on a walk? We've already established that if someone says they're going to take a walk, it's probably not for travel. It's probably for the walk itself. So what are the benefits one might derive from a walk? What is so good about taking a walk? One, exercise. Getting your heart pumping. Exercise is something that is good for humans, and it's a good reason to take a walk. Perfect. Another reason people go on walks is to collect their thoughts. They walk as a meditation. They walk to collect their thoughts about various things. A lot of very famous and successful writers report that their best creative process stemmed from taking long walks. Ancient philosophers advocated taking long walks. So that's another good reason to take a walk. Some people consider walking a type of meditation. They focus their thoughts on the process of walking rather than solving problems that stem from the day-to-day, rather than focusing on anxieties and fears. They focus on the process of walking and experience life in the present. That's a good reason to go walking for me. Other people go on a walk in nature to experience nature, to see different things, to notice different things, perhaps to see birds, animals, insects, plants, the beauty of nature. For me, that's a very good reason to go on a walk. What about using a walk in nature as a way of getting comprehensible input? What does that sound like to you? You could do that. And as much as I love comprehensible input, I don't use my walks in nature as a way of getting input very often at all. If I was walking for travel in a fairly uninteresting place, I might put on a headset and get input. I get input driving the car all the time. But walking in nature is so rewarding in and of itself, I usually don't change that into a task of getting input. I get input every day. If I'm getting input, I'm sitting in the house, I'm walking around the house, or I'm driving the car. The types of input I get include German, Spanish, and then audiobooks and podcasts, of course. I read fiction and I read nonfiction. It is common for me to read 2 or 3 books at a time. It's a fun fact that our human brain will easily keep the books separate. They don't get mixed up. Our mind is very capable of reading more than one book at a time. So if I want to get input when I'm doing something else, I might use some of these. This is an earbud. They come in pairs. This is a right one. So an earbud is installed. It plugs into the external part of the ear and it sends sound into one's ear. It also blocks outside sound somewhat. This is a very popular way of listening when we're doing something else. So this is an earbud. The trouble with earbuds is they do block the outside sound, which may be a problem under certain circumstances. Plus, they may fall out. I have had these fall out, and they never fall out at a convenient time. Every time one of these has fallen out of my ear, it's been a problem. They tend to fall out of one's ear. An alternative is one of these. This is a bone conduction headset. It puts sound into our ear by sending the sound waves through the bones around the ear canal. And this technology is getting better and better. This is my second one of these. I bought the first one at the recommendation of Pablo Roman, who created Dreaming Spanish. Pablo used this kind of headset in the past, and he talked about it on his channel, not to promote the product, but in order to create comprehensible input, much the way we are using it today. I'm not promoting a product. I'm talking about a product. I'm talking about a technology so that you get input, in this case, in English. So this bone conduction headset has some advantages and some disadvantages. This does not plug the ear canal, so it doesn't exclude any outside sound. That could be good if you need to be able to hear people talking to you or sounds to alert you about possible danger. You could wear these in the city. If it's a high noise environment, you may find the ambient noise, that is the sound around you, very distracting, and the ambient noise from the environment might interfere with your hearing. When I put on this headset, it fits around one's ear. They're very comfortable. They do not interfere with glasses, and I can hear everything around me. The first set of these I bought was not great. It was okay, but as is usually the case, the technology has gradually evolved, and now the technology is much better. So I bought these fairly recently, and they are superb. That said, I'm not going to wear these on the walk. I don't repurpose a walk for getting input. If I take a walk, it is usually for the purpose of taking a walk, being in nature, meditation, relaxing, and getting some exercise. Today, the purpose of the walk is to make a video for Comprehensible Input. So this is a slight departure from my usual reasons for taking a walk. On today's walk, you're invited along, and my purpose for this walk is to notice things. I'm going to notice things and describe what I see along the way. Today's theme for this video is taking a walk in a forest and noticing things. So with that, let's get started on our walk. I walked along the roadway until I got here, and this is where the walk goes into the woods. I walked for perhaps 15 minutes to get here, but I was walking on the street. I was just getting from point A to point B, this being point B. My plan is to walk a circuit, but I'm not going to show the entire circuit on this video. It would be too long. Much of it would be fairly boring because it's on streets. As I said, the purpose here is to notice things. Notice things that are perhaps different. Notice things that have gradually changed. Or I should just notice things so that I can point out interesting things to you. So we come to our first thing I noticed. I noticed this branch. The leaves are all dead. They're all dried out. This branch has been separated from the tree upon which it grew. And we have a clue about this because you can see it has been cut. It's been cut cleanly. This is not a broken branch. This is a branch that was removed by a human being. Somebody had a saw and they trimmed that branch off. They left it here to dry, and we might see what happens to it in the future. When people trim trees and bushes, we have a lot of words to describe that process. We could say we were trimming the tree, or maybe we were pruning that tree. This branch has been pruned off of a tree and has been left here to dry out. There are several others within view that are similar. They've been cut and they're drying out. I suspect that one of our neighbors did this to maintain the trail and to make things neat. This is not a city park. This is private land that is owned by the homeowners in this area. We take care of it ourselves with no government involvement. Behind me, there are some logs that have been cut much in the same way. They were cut by one of the homeowners and they're just drying here. I suspect these will be used for firewood sometime in the future. The other day we were walking in a park, a state park, and then before that we were in a city park, and I showed you sidewalks. That is, the walking path was paved with concrete or with asphalt. There are two major ways that we pave walkways and roads: concrete or asphalt. Asphalt is usually black or dark gray, and concrete is usually lighter in color. This path upon which I'm walking is not paved. It is also not level. It's going down. I am walking down a grade. I'm walking down a slope, and it's going to go down for a long time. The next thing we can notice here, the ground is covered with leaf litter. So this is the path upon which I'm walking, and you can see it is covered with litter from the trees. You can see leaves, and you can see dried foliage from the redwood trees. We can also notice this moss. This moss is very green because it's been raining, and so it has come back to life. It has come back to activity given the moisture. I was told that the history of this path upon which we're walking dates back perhaps over 100 years. Back in the early 20th century, this area was where they removed logs to make lumber to build houses. A lot of trees were cut down to rebuild San Francisco after the 1906 earthquake. We would call this a logging road. That's what I've been told. I haven't found any records that actually verify that information. Here we have some soil. This is just dried soil. We have a lot of terms that we use to describe that soil. You could call it soil. You could call it dirt. You could call it earth. Different situations determine how you choose your words. If that substance, that soil, was on someone's clothes, you could say that they got dirt on their clothes and their clothes are dirty. You could also say that their clothes were soiled. Soiled and dirty are interchangeable. Dirt and soil are interchangeable. Referring to that as earth is less common. This is our path. The homeowners have set a regulation that motorized vehicles will not use this hiking path. We come to something that we can now notice. This tree was not cut off. This tree was not cut with a saw. This tree broke. When we talk about walking, sometimes we will tell someone whether it was easy or difficult. An easy walk would be level on a very even surface. On an easy walk, there would be nothing blocking our way. If the walk is not level, if it goes down or up a lot, if the surface is uneven, or if there are obstacles blocking our way, then we might describe that walk as strenuous. Climbing a mountain can be very strenuous. That is, it can stress us because we have to work very hard to do it. Hiking in and out of the Grand Canyon is strenuous. Hiking here in this woods is not very strenuous. It is more strenuous than walking in the city park. It goes down a lot and then it comes up a lot. But there are no obstacles blocking our way, and the path is fairly even. Here we can notice another tree stump. This one has broken off. It was not cut. The story of this tree is it was a very old, tall, tan oak tree, and it was here for decades. More than 5 years ago, it died. But when it died, it was still standing. The leaves died and fell off of it. It stopped putting out new leaves, and everyone who looked at it said, "That tree is dead." About 4 years later, during a windstorm, the tree broke off and fell. So we can notice this tree is part of the life cycle of this forest. A tree sprouts, that is, the seed germinates, and it grows, and maybe it survives, and maybe it becomes a forest giant like this one did. And then at some point, it dies. Natural forces like a windstorm knock down the structure. And then the microorganisms and the insects take the wood apart molecule by molecule. This tree is being recycled by nature. It's normal. And today, we noticed it. Here we can notice a stream coming through this area, cutting across our path. Our path is there, and we're here, and the stream cuts across our path. This stream was created by runoff from rain, and the water was collected up there on the hill. It came in to this area like a funnel and then formed this stream. This area here is evidence that this was a logging road. This part of the path goes up to an area where a number of large trees were cut. This suggests that this little short piece of road was built to haul those big logs out after they were cut up there. I have been going downhill since we started at the top. It just keeps going down. The forest is getting denser and it's getting quieter. I don't hear anything except me. I'm going to turn around and give you a 360 view of this part of the trail. You can see we're very deep in the forest. And it is quiet, not because of noise cancellation. There's not much sound here. I don't hear birds and I don't hear squirrels barking. It's just quiet. We are now at the bottom. This is the low point of the walk. We have been walking down since we started, and now I have to go up because there's nothing lower than this on the path. I can go up in that direction, or I can go back in the direction from which I came. Two choices. I think I'll go that way. There are a lot of things to see here in the bottom of this forest. One of the things that we can see is this. It looks like a building, but it's not. This is a tank. This is a water tank. It's very old and it's made out of steel. It holds water. Well, it used to hold water. I don't know if it does now. This box is an electrical box. And here is a pipe coming up out of the ground. It appears that there is a pump deep in the ground that sends water up to this tank. Many years ago, that tank and the pump were a source of drinking water for people who lived here. However, I have been told that when the water was tested for contaminants, it didn't pass the test. It was not deemed to be safe, so it is no longer used for drinking water. We're now looking at a creek. It's a small riverbed, and you can see very large boulders. These are rocks, these are large stones, or they are boulders. In English, the way we use the language, talking about stones, rocks and stones, pretty much interchangeable, but a boulder means a big rock or a big stone. If you show someone a rock that is only a few inches across and you say, "Look at this boulder," they will know you are joking because a boulder should be very big. That boulder behind me is almost as big as a car. So now I am going to start uphill. I'm going to continue on this loop trail. As I start walking up in this direction, it will be more strenuous. It will take more energy on my part to climb this. In some places, this trail will get fairly steep, and I'll really have to work to get up there. It can cause me to breathe more heavily, and perhaps I'll have to stop and catch my breath. If you go uphill very quickly, you can run out of air. You need to breathe more to keep going. And so if you're having trouble with your breathing because you're going up a very steep, strenuous path, you could say you're out of breath. And if you stop and let your natural human systems get back toward normal, you could say you caught your breath. If I was walking on this path with someone who was going too fast and I was having trouble keeping up with them, I might say, "Would you wait and let me catch my breath?" Or, "I need to catch my breath." It's just something true about humans. We do not have unlimited capacity to do things like go uphill. Now, we can develop our abilities by training, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just in our normal day-to-day, if you walk uphill and it's very steep, you might be out of breath and you might need to stop and catch your breath. In this area around me, right here, we see redwood trees. This is a very characteristic appearance of a redwood tree. In a very short distance, we will walk out of the redwood forest and into a mixed hardwood forest. The redwoods don't grow everywhere. This behind me is a redwood predominant forest, but up there you won't see redwoods, or you won't see as many. This area is uphill, but it is not very strenuous. One can decide how quickly to walk and not get out of breath. This is a large maple leaf. You might recognize this as the leaf that appears on the Canadian flag. This leaf has dried and fallen from the tree because it's autumn. This time of year we call the fall because the leaves fall off the trees. Not all the leaves, but the deciduous leaves fall from the tree. Here you can notice that it's getting brighter. There's more light here because we're hiking up out of the deep forest. We're hiking up to a place where the trees are smaller and spaced further apart, so there's more light here. We're making progress on this hike. As we climb out of the deep forest and we see more light, we get more bushes, we get more brush, smaller plants. Down in the deep forest, there was so much shade that we didn't see a lot of plants under the trees. Here, there's a lot of brush. The trail continues uphill. You can see it behind me. It goes steeply uphill, but it's okay. I just stop to rest from time to time. It's not too strenuous. The rest of the trail is very routine. Soon I will get to the road and back to my starting point. I shared only the portion of this walk that was in the forest. The point today was to notice things and notice differences between walking in the woods in a forest versus walking in a city park. It's a very different experience. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Hit that free subscribe button. It really helps. I hope you enjoyed this. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.